So Trump wants us to start buying American product. Well, let's look at this in the supermarket at ShopRite. These are product of Red USA red peppers. Look at the quality of these peppers. And then product of Mexico. They're a little more expensive. Look at these peppers. Again, yellow peppers of Mexico. Look at these peppers. And look at the peppers of America.
I'm predicting 40,000 business bankruptcies by the 4th of July. So 2 months now I've been telling you why the U.S. economy is cooked, and there's lots of reasons for it. It's not just the tariffs. The tariffs, of course, are the largest nail in the coffin. But we've known, economists and historians have known for the longest time that if you make drastic changes in your economy and introduce something like tariffs across the board, particularly against your largest trading partners, Canada, China, and Mexico, that it's going to have drastic consequences. And the drastic consequences are going to be to make costs for all of those businesses that are trying to function in the U.S. right now go up dramatically. Now, think of the small business in the U.S. that's an importer and a reseller of something that comes from China. They're importing something that's not made in the U.S. They might be importing just a part of something that they put together, that they manufacture, and part of the product is made in the U.S., is made in China rather. And now they're looking at it and they're saying, well, I'm a small business. I employ 4 people. I've got a shipping container full of this stuff. The tariffs on it are in excess of 104%. I can't afford to pay it. I can't continue to run my business. My clients are not going to pay it. I can up my price on my website. I can let my clients know, my customers know that this is what the price is now, but I know they're not going to pay it. And so what happens? What happens at that point? Well, this is April now, but May comes along and you're in a similar situation. You didn't get those products. The U.S. government seized them, and now it's going to end up going to auction in 6 months or something like that. You don't order anymore. If you're going to order something, you just stop ordering it. Yeah, it hurts the business in China, but they've got clients all around the world, so it's they will continue to survive. But you, as an American business, are in a situation where you've got debts, you've got money that you've got to pay each month, and you can't make those payments. You borrowed money to get your business running. You borrowed money to keep your business running. You've got a line of credit and things like that. So this is April now. By May, June, we're going to start to see a lot of businesses filing for bankruptcy, and then we'll see personal bankruptcies too. But think of all the people who are going to get laid off in all of those different businesses. And it's a cascading effect, right? Because you've got somebody laid off at a business, 3-5 people laid off at a business. Those people, can't make their payment on their house now. Maybe their spouse is in a similar situation. They get laid off. They can't afford to spend. They're not going out to the restaurant. The restaurant lays off the server. After a little while, the restaurant's not making enough money, so they end up shuttering as well because, of course, their costs have gone up and nobody can afford it because the wages haven't gone up. Wages, always trail inflation when you've got hyperinflation, which is what we're facing with this massive tax increase on the Americans as a result of the tariffs. Excuse me. When you've got that, people just can't afford to buy things. The money loses value and wages don't keep up with it. Hyperinflation, wages do not keep up with it. Wages have not kept up with inflation with our high inflation that we've had since the beginning of COVID. So as a consequence, you're thinking of those businesses, and what are they importing, right? They're importing things that they need. Maybe they put things together. When it arrives, you need one component or 2 components that you can't get from anywhere else. They're made in China. It's an electronic part, or it's some piece of plastic that only is made in China. You can't, you can let your clients, your customers know that you're going to pay more, but your customers are going to be looking at it and they're going to say, well, we're not going to do it. And here's a good example. Microsoft has canceled a $1 billion project in Ohio that they intended to do when Biden was president. It's 3 data centers, and they just announced that they're not going to do it. And why are they not going to do it? Well, you can think of reasons, right? When it comes to data, it crosses the border. It's cloud storage is basically what they were building. Why would you need to build it in Ohio? Well, there were incentives, A, but B, you could get all the stuff. You could buy all the stuff to import it there, to build it. What does it take to build those data centers? It takes building supplies from Mexico and Canada and China. It takes electronics manufactured in China. All of those things have gone up such that a $1 billion project would probably be a $3 billion project. And you can do that same project in Canada for the same price you were going to do it before. If you really felt that that was something that you needed to do, you could build it in Australia, you can build it in Mexico, you can build it anywhere. Probably smarter to build it somewhere where you don't have to air condition quite so much. So Manitoba might benefit from Microsoft, from Ohio's lost Microsoft moving, because we're not going to have those tariffs. But the point is that, this is just one thing, right? That's just one thing. But there are thousands and thousands of businesses in the U.S., and everybody is going to be facing the same situation because it's going to unfold through the economy. You're a business and you hire somebody, local who does your website, and, your business shuts down. That's one client that's gone for that company that makes the website or does the marketing. The local restaurants around those businesses that are there, they end up shutting down too, because they're missing just enough customers that, their margins were already tight. And food prices are going to go up, and costs of everything else going up is going to lead to this cascading effect. Now, even if Trump was to cancel all the tariffs right now, we would still end up in a significant recession because of all of the other things that I've laid out in those previous videos. But the tariffs are the gigantic nail in the coffin for the U.S. economy, and it's going to put the entire global economy into a period of recession. All of those retirees who are counting on their 401ks, thinking, okay, well, a stable economy, there's always ups and downs, and there's, we have sometimes anomalies and sometimes stupid things like the subprime mortgage crisis. But still long-term, looking pretty good. Not any longer, right? You've already lost a quarter of your wealth. If you had $4 million in the bank because you were invested in the stock market because you were relatively affluent, now you're down to $3.5 million, and it's probably going to end up being $2 million by the time you're done, maybe less. And if that's all you've got, well, when prices double, that's not going to necessarily get you through. And get you through from age 60 when you've, luckily done very well for yourself. Normally that would have been great, but when prices double on everything, and they're going to double, prices are going to double on things in the U.S. When prices double on things, and there's no workaround, and I mean there's no way to get around it, and there's also no work for people. They're all being laid off. That puts you in a very perilous position. Now, that is the lucky few who had some money invested. Think of all the other people who are on fixed incomes or struggling, working, just trying to scrape by. We're going to see hundreds of thousands of personal bankruptcies. But as I say, I think we will see, from the start of the year to the 4th of July to Independence Day, there will be 40,000 people, 40,000 businesses that are independent of operating because they've gone bankrupt. And give it 2 more months after that, by the end of summer, probably 100,000 businesses. So all of those Republicans, MAGA people who wanted this, I'm always shocked that this is what you wanted. You thought this was going to be good for the U.S. economy. Incremental change is the way to go. Being a jerk is never the way to go in politics, and alienating your best customers and best suppliers with respect to countries like Canada and Mexico is not a healthy thing for your economy. And working together with the rest of the world is the most advantageous thing. One final comment. Trump, over the course of his career, used his method that was outlined in the book that was ghostwritten for him, and that was fine. If you were ordering concrete from a single supplier, you could grind them down, you could be mean to them, they wanted your business, they didn't know what the other guy was doing. But that's one shot, right? That's one company delivering concrete. It's not a regular customer, a regular supplier. Same with, purchasing real estate. That's a sort of a one shot. You're never going to deal with that person again, probably, and you don't have to establish a good relationship with them. That's completely different when it comes to international trade. When it comes to international trade, it relies on trust and assurance and the confidence that you're going to have stability in the market and prices. In other words, when you order something from China, you hope that when it comes, you can still sell it and that you can still afford to pay for it. All of that is gone. That market confidence is gone, and the U.S. economy is cooked.
All right, y'all. I had to come to Walmart and get some potatoes and carrots. So let's go take a look-see at the prices so far. And let's take a look and see if there's any signs of any shortages going on at my Walmart in Texas. All right, y'all, this is avocados in Texas. So right now, they're a really, really, really good price. These aren't the huge ones, but these are a really good price. So I haven't seen a price increase in those. And then you can see here the green bell peppers are 68 cents, so there's no price increase here. However, look at this. We have no bananas, very few. I grabbed one out of that box, but yep, no bananas. This is something else that's usually full, so I'm seeing like no salads, very little prep meals. And then this is on the other side again. This is normally stocked full. And it looks like the deli is not got everything out that they normally have either. This is usually stocked full as well. So as you can see, we've got some holes appearing. While I'm here, I'm gonna grab some flour because I make sourdough bread. So I gotta grab some unbleached flour. I also wanna grab a couple bags of beans. I got plenty of rice yesterday. I did get some beans also, but I wanna get some different kind. So the rice and beans didn't look too bad. There are a few holes that are forming, but it looks like everything on the very top shelf is well stocked as well. There does appear to be some holes in the vinegar. Not too much stocked up there, but I'm gonna go ahead and grab some of that. I use it for many things, but y'all, this is laundry day. Well, times 3, probably gonna be 3 days, but I've gotta do all my towels, all my bedding, and I like to throw some vinegar in there to just eliminate any unwanted odors. So the flour seems to be good. We thrive in there, so I grabbed me some flour. We are looking pretty decent on the sugar, so I'm gonna go ahead and grab a bag of that. I don't really use a whole lot of sugar in things, but I just got me a little tiny small bag just in case. Beef was looking a little thin. I didn't want to scare the people that were standing there, so I didn't want to like be talking and filming and freak them out. But anyway, ground beef is good. Ground beef is good. It's like all of the different kinds of steaks that there's a lot of spare space. This is something else I've noticed in our little hot dog area. That's not normal. Normally we are fully packed here. Same thing down here in the smoked sausage aisle, y'all. We are normally fully packed here, and there is a lot of empty spaces. And then this is where we're getting into our dairy, like our cottage cheeses and sour cream. So got some holes there. Our yogurt is normally fully stocked, and I'm really sad because they didn't have my Chobani 20-gram protein drinks. Ugh. Juice aisle is looking a little empty, way more than normal. Well, I pretty much walked the outer perimeter and showed you all of the things that I noticed, so I am going to go check out and get my butt home and get these potatoes and carrots in this roast.
So at this point in the trade war, you might be asking yourself, why did the US want to pick a fight with China in the first place? And the truth is, it's not about fair trade like Trump says, it's about survival. And it's not gonna stop here. US generals are even predicting outright war this year. To understand why this is all happening, you have to understand globalization, which is a process where the countries around the world become more and more connected and integrated as communication and travel become easier. Since World War II ended and the Cold War began in the 1950s, globalization has taken a very specific form. The imperial systems that the British built were never fully dismantled. They just changed hands to the US and adapted to the changing times. The idea, as J.D. Vance laid out recently, was this.
The idea of globalization was that rich countries would move further up the value chain while the poor countries made the simpler things.
The expectation has been that third world countries would always sell their natural resources and labor for cheap while the West profited off of them. Basically, neo-colonialism, the same effects as colonialism but updated for the 20th century. That's why the West created institutions like the International Monetary Fund or the World Bank, which control the development of third world countries to make sure that they're in line with Western plans. And that's why the US has staged military coups all over the world in any country that wanted to seize control of their own resources. And this expectation is rooted in the same kind of Orientalist thinking that has defined much of Western thought for the past 300 years. But surprise, things haven't worked out that way.
Turns out that the geographies that do the manufacturing get awfully good at the designing of things. As they got better at the low end of the value chain, they also started catching up on the higher end. We were squeezed from both ends.
You see, the problem with China isn't that they have an authoritarian government or that they're being aggressive towards Taiwan or even that they're communist. The issue is that China, a formerly poor country of the third world, has decided to step out of line from its designated place in the world order and challenge the United States. China has played the global capitalist game that the US has started, and they're actually winning. They lead the world in solar, EV, AI, and other advanced technologies. They're the primary trading partner for most of the world. China's digital finance systems is challenging the dominance of the US dollar. The tariffs are creating new alliances between China, South Korea, Japan, with Latin America, and even with the EU. And they're even becoming the moral leader of the world by standing with Palestine. And when we look at everything the US is doing right now, the mineral deal in Ukraine, wanting to control Greenland, the tariffs on the whole world, the demonization of immigrants, or even the renewed violence in Palestine, we have to view it all within this larger context. This isn't a trade war. This is a war for control over global finance, for who is at the top of the global world order. And the fight isn't over, but you might want to start brushing up on your Mandarin. The best thing that we can do right now is to band together, brace for this change, organize to resist, and propose real alternatives. If you want to learn how, check out the latest issue of the Conscious Citizens Dispatch, where we're discussing that and a lot more. You can sign up for free through the link in our bio, and if you've been liking my videos, it's also a great way to support our work for as little as $2 a month.
So I've been in the risk management field for over 30 years, working with every kind of industry out there. And I want to talk about the devastating news with China now banning, restricting all beef imports into China from the United States. This affects cattle ranchers. Though that's the headlines everywhere, how much cattle ranchers are going to be impacted by this. This represents about $1.8 billion in sales every year for cattle ranchers, and about a third of American beef goes to China. Okay, what people need to understand is this isn't the only industry that's going to be impacted by this. Let's just theoretically say a third of the beef has nowhere to go now. So cattle ranchers have to downsize. They're going to go into bankruptcy. But we don't just ship cows alive to China. They get transported to slaughterhouse facilities. And then from there, the beef products get transported to meat processing facilities where they're processed into burger or steak or what have you. So now you have all these other associated industries that are going to be affected by at least a third as well. Then you've got all the transportation companies, whether it's the small time local haulers of cattle from the cattle ranchers to the slaughterhouses, or the larger commercial carriers who haul the meat in refrigerated trailers. All of that is now going to be impacted. But not just that. When you look at cattle farmers that are going to have to make serious cuts or maybe even close down, that affects other local farmers who supply the cattle ranchers with the cattle feed. That's going to be impacted. You've got veterinary medicines, veterinary care that's going to be impacted by this. Look at the meat processing facilities and all the industries that support them. You know, it could be your cardboard box suppliers from right here in the United States. Their sales are going to plummet. This is absolutely devastating. But here's the biggest part of this that concerns me. It's that Australia has immediately jumped in and filled that gap for China. So this is going to be a big boon for Australia. they're going to now grow by leaps and bounds. They're going to build infrastructure. They're going to increase the number of employees. Existing companies are going to probably open up additional locations. This is going to be a big growth for Australia. And the question is, why would China ever return back to the United States? And we're just talking Australia and China's relationship. We're not talking about all the other countries forging relationships to fill in the gap, to cut out the United States. This is all because of a very inept, dangerous administration and Trump voters who do not understand they're being used and abused. This administration does not care about them. And when you talk about the cattle industry and all the industries that support it, there's a whole lot of Trump supporters in there who voted for this that are now going to be impacted by this. This is a very scary F around and find out moment for the United States. Yeah.
Are you an idiot? Be paying for it.
April 29th, 2025. Israelis, y'all. This is the empty shelves they talking about. Crazy. It's some stuff. But it's starting though.
I'm sitting on the dock of the bay, watching the tide roll away.
Starting today, everything from China costs a whole lot more. Adidas just announced that they're raising prices for everyone in the US. Sneaker resale platform Poison won't even let US customers buy anything. Shein prices have skyrocketed, some increased by 300%. Temu is trying to hide price increases by saying everything now ships magically from your local warehouses. Amazon actually tried to display the tariffs on product prices, but Trump personally called Bezos and said, so he took it down. So why now? Well, right now, the final tariff-free cargo ships carrying Chinese goods have just entered the US and hit the ports. But from now on, these ships are now hit with the staggering 145% tariff that US put on China. So what can you expect? Well, sneakers and fashion are some of the most affected categories for price increases. Realistically, expect less stock across the board. Shelves and clothing racks may start looking real empty. A $100 Nike sneaker, for example, could cost $156. Same goes for Adidas. You could be paying $150 for a pair of Sambas. Now, all of this could change if the US or China backs down. But the question is, do you think that's going to happen?
America, the fun and games is over. Now, this is a really hard video for me to make. We've gone beyond now Trump this, MAGA that, Republican this, Biden that, left, right, Republican, Democrat, whatever. Shit's about to get real. You've seen my videos. I've been posting for a couple of months now. I, on the one hand, don't really want to be scaremongering. Sometimes people come on and they say, yes, we know, and then of course a lot of you come on and say thank you so much for pointing these things out. If you live in America, I think you need to be worried. This is not a parody account. This is not, I'm trying to be serious here without being alarming. But we are now towards the end of April 2025. But the fact is, the big orange buffoon with the small hands, the tiny hands, your great leader, I don't think you understand what he has done to the economy, what is about to happen to the United States. With these tariffs, with China no longer sending a single ship to US ports. The last one, I believe, is due to be in the East Coast on the 11th of May. But after that, there will not be a single ship coming from China to the US with a single shoe, bag of wheat, iPhone, whatever it is you buy from China, clothing, and above all the components that companies in the US rely on. I'm hearing that dock workers are being laid off because there's no ships to unload and load. I'm hearing that truckers are being laid off because, well, there's nothing in the ports, so there's nothing to truck. I'm hearing that places like Las Vegas, which live off tourism, are now on the quiet, getting rid of staff, saying you'll let go because, frankly, there's no more tourists welcome to the US. But the most worrying videos I've seen, and I'm saying this simply as an awareness thing, that better that you hear it now and have the time to weigh up your options rather than hear it later and go, why didn't anyone tell me? Again, I'm not trying to be fear-mongering, but it's certainly better to have heard something and have time to evaluate and make your own decision rather than for something to come as a complete surprise. Basically, the talk is of shelves emptying, and that is some serious shit. We are talking potentially the US economy grinding to an absolute halt like has not been seen in at least 2 centuries by July 4th. We're talking people losing their jobs, people losing their homes, people not having food, and God knows what else. Now again, I'm trying to stay calm and not be alarmist in this video, but the things I've seen in the last few days, frankly, are alarming. At least I am concerned for the people in the US right now who perhaps are not aware of the potential for what is going to happen in May, June, and July of 2025. All I can say is do what you can, protect yourself the best way you can, and perhaps, maybe, just maybe, even if it's crazy, buy a little extra food, a little extra toilet paper, a little extra what you need. Because I remember during COVID here in Europe, the food gone from the shelves. You couldn't buy solar panels. You couldn't buy battery storage. You couldn't buy wind-up radios. It was difficult to get cash out of the machine. And thankfully, they weren't needed. And yes, some of us were a little bit crazy. But I believe there's an old saying, it's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. Please stay safe. Thank you for following, and see you in the next video.